We have a waiting room in this? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were back asking. But I don't know.
I got looked at it.
Right, that's what I wondered too, how far would she actually get? And how much will we actually change it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
the way that she started doing something.
Right.
It looks to me like.
I'll keep it short.
What's that?
I'll keep it short.
Well, you're gonna keep it within 3 minutes, that's what we're
I
allowed.
think it'll be less than that.
All right, well. Good.
It's her to work in the
Okay,
So you know.
hey, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know I can get it very far. Because I came down.
Wait, Sandra and Mike.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, you'll have to go.
Okay.
I thought I could just repeat.
Shoot. One. Wonderful. That's about it. Oh, I know. Yeah, about that. Just things, you know, I'm torn here.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what I said about you.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that. Yeah, you got an angle there. It's like a field goal kicker, they like to hit it straight on and angles are there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yep, second term Reagan, yeah.
Dean was there. They were supposed to be in the parade. Yeah, it was Sue's. 3 5, so it was like his junior year at the academy. Yeah, so we had, the back cover and then the other thing was. That was 1 year old and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got,
It's in
I-
college.
yeah, I don't know if it's a compliment or a. Or I should be concerned about it, I opened the door and I held it open for a young girl at Casey's who was taking the pizza out. And she said, thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah, when they call you
As long as I
ma'am,
look
no,
like
it's
this.
when they call you ma'am.
Yeah,
I know. I think the first time somebody did that to me, I was like 21 or 22. And I was like, oh, I'm so for sure.
you're always an old, you look old for your age. Until you got old. And
Now
they-
you look young.
Yeah,
for your-
now I'm backpedaling really hard right now.
Yeah.
Ignore what I just said, cool.
Uh-huh, okay.
Okay.
When you're in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah, that would be one of these. Okay, we are at 6:01. That's wrong. No stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's call the meeting to order. Becca, you wanna call roll?
Mike Burke,
Here.
Sandra Gerlach,
Here.
Emerita Keith,
Here.
Christine Bob,
Here.
Tom Stewart,
Yes.
Monica McHugh,
Here.
John Manson.
He is absent. Did you get anything from him, Lori?
No,
No. All right, do I get, can I get a motion and a second on the approval of the December 16th meetings?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, we are going to go ahead and open up the public hearing on our. We'll wait until Mr. Manson gets seated.
Can I bring something to record?
Yes, you can.
Okay, we had set up on our public notice that anyone choosing to speak, that was gonna do it via online, was to, send an email to our
Yes.
office email by six o'clock. I have no emails
Okay.
requesting to speak. I
All
wanted
right.
to bring that to.
All right. All right, do I have a motion to open the hearing to a public hearing? I have a move. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor of opening the hearing to a public hearing? Say aye. 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 All, any opposed? All right, we will go ahead and open to a public hearing for public comments on the Jackson County wind ordinance. Can I speak?
Hi, I'm Brian Belmont from Sierra. Just had one or two quick things. I wondered if you would reconsider on the noise ordinance, changing that from an average to peak levels. It's a wind turbine makes a pulsing sound. If we average that out, you're gonna have a lot higher peaks than the 50 decibels, I believe is what your ordinance says.
It is 50 decibels, Brian, at the property.
I just- Reconsider changing that to a peak level instead of average levels. I was also wondering, since you're doing setback waivers, if you consider extending that a little further than 1,500 feet. That way we would have adjoining landowner buy-in for sure with extending that distance. That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Do you have anybody online?
Nobody that signed up to speak.
Okay, all right,
That was what I wanted to make sure you were aware of at the 6 o'clock.
we have that. All right, if we have no other public comments, I'll ask for a vote to close the public hearing. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. John Coy. I'll second.
All right. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. So let's go ahead and get into the ordinance.
Just so you know, I'm having some technical difficulties. My document, I'm told, is not sharing. Because this is just allowing me to share my screen with other participants. Don't want to do that.
Looks like it should be correct.
But I messaged somebody that's on and they're not seeing your screens. They're not seeing my screens.
Let's try it again. Let's see if you can share again.
Then I can see that. That's for the participants. Because usually my share tab's right down here. Just gonna have to do it blind. I mean, you guys will be able to see it, but our guest won't.
I'd like to have everybody see it.
Okay, we got a message saying no, it's not showing. Gosh, you guys.
Look on that again, there we go.
Okay, we're gonna get it now. Okay. Ron, are you getting it now? Go ahead and send me another text.
Okay,
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, feel better now? Okay,
Okay. So let's discuss the. And I gotta send a shout out and a very huge thank you to Chris and Sandra for all their work on being the wordsmith police, on getting commas, spacing, language to where it should be. Thank you very much for all of your hard work on this. I appreciate that. There's a little more.
Yeah.
There's a lot more on that.
there's a little more that's still not right.
Okay,
So, if you, I know Sandra has some, Chris, if you have any, will you just send me an email? I caught the threes that were printed out.
Yeah.
But the word and not the numbers, so if you guys wanna just reach out to me, anything that's not changing language.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
correcting,
Yeah.
grammar, spelling, punctuation.
Yep. Yes.
Formatting, yeah, just let me know. Oh, and Becca, Big Star Formatting.
I saw that.
Yes. So
Thank
she
you.
got that done.
Thank you.
So I'm not saying that we caught everything,
But I know there was a
Like we
lot
were
of
kind
work
of
that went
picky.
into it, so I do
Yeah.
appreciate that. I know that was a lot of time to
But
do.
if there's more, I don't feel like you're gonna hurt my feelings. I've worked for the public for 26 years.
Nothing
changed. So-
Yeah,
Okay,
all right, let's get started on this.
gonna drive? You were want me to walk you through it?
I'll let you go ahead and walk us through it.
Okay. So, do we want to go through it again, paragraph by paragraph, section by section, or just where we
I
found some
think
issues?
where the issues are is
Okay.
where we need to go through. I think we kind of beat this to death.
Okay. All right, so. In section 4, number 11. Page 8. And I'm gonna do a little backtracking. When we get to a certain point here. So section 4. Number 11. Page 8, when we're talking about setbacks. As it's currently written, the owners of adjacent property, and let me get the screen to that, so anyone watching can see where we are. So setbacks from any neighboring property line shall be no less than 1,500 feet. The owners of adjacent property may voluntarily agree by written and recorded waiver to a property line setback closer than 1,500 feet. The word adjacent started bothering Chris, and Sandra picked up on it, and then I'm like, Oh my gosh, adjacent. If you go to the actual legal definition of adjacent, it's what touches.
Right.
I mean, the adjacent order. So the suggested language to that, and Sandra had a real good demonstration. We did it on our fingers.
Yeah.
So you have your property, with the wind turbine, and you have someone less than 1,500 feet agreeing that the turbine could be closer than 1,500 feet. But then you have the person that's not adjacent, that with that waiver, it still puts them less than 1,500 feet, 1,450 feet, or whatever it might be, away from that turbine. So it would be the property owners, the owners of property closer than 1,500 feet may voluntarily. That way it would get anybody that's within 1,500 feet and not just the immediate adjacent property owner.
So they would have to also sign off on the waiver.
And I do like
Yeah, it'd be
that.
a
yeah.
double, yeah.
That bothered me.
Yeah.
And after you guys pointed it out, I'm like, oh, gosh, that was good. But we followed the boilerplate,
Plate
the
for what it
standard
was.
language that's in 90% of the wind ordinances. And, you know,
Maybe we'll
they get
become the
outside the box
boilerplate.
every now and again.
Yeah, maybe we will.
What was that?
Maybe we'll become the boilerplate.
Maybe we
Everybody.
could. Maybe we could after we get the grammar fixed, right?
So can you so the,
What is the recommendation?
The recommendation, the suggested language, and I do have this in your notebooks.
yeah, I was
What
gonna
if you put those?
Right after
In the
your,
back, is it?
right after the ordinance.
Right after the ordinance.
okay. There we go.
So the
Ah, there we go.
suggested language would be to have that sentence read, the owners of property closer than 1,500 feet may voluntarily agree by a written waiver recorded with the Jackson County Recorder, which describes the burden property and advises all subsequent owners of the property of the allowable,
Take that A out.
yeah, no joke, property line setback closer than 1,500 feet. Or can you reread that? The owners of property closer than 1,500 feet may voluntarily agree by a written waiver recorded with the Jackson County Recorder, which describes the burden property and advises all subsequent owners of the property of the allowable property line setback closer than 1,500 feet.
Do you want to add in after closer than 1,500 feet, not necessarily adjacent?
I think we spelled that out.
Okay.
And I did run this language by our county attorney and the assistant. I don't have this one. Is this clear in the back?
It's right after the ordinance.
Okay, let me get to it and I'll show you this language then. And then you'll be able to see that too then. Here, it's good.
There you go. Thank you.
You can walk up.
Wait, can't you see that?
I made it a little bigger. Is that better? Come on up.
I personally like
Plus
that.
sign on the top of your screen, it's been. Top,
No,
No.
top in the middle.
Right in the
In the middle.
Oh, this one. Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot I can do that.
very good.
And take out that property of the allowable A, take that A out.
Okay. Yeah, I already got it struck.
Okay.
I guess my question is, in the way that reads, is that saying that all property owners within that has to sign it?
Yes.
Yeah.
They would have to agree to it.
I mean, I get that's what we're trying to say, but
So if they don't want it, they don't have to sign it. So if you're the third property and you don't want it, you don't.
Then the other.
but it doesn't really say all owners have to sign it.
Voluntary agree by a written waiver.
1,500 feet off the owner.
The owners
than
of
1,500
a property of the allowable. Just see that.
I
Sorry.
like that,
Can
and
I,
I think with the county attorney on that, I think that is what we need to look at. Do I have a motion on striking what is there and adding this into the ordinance?
I got one more thing.
Okay,
Well-
we
What
got-
about the 1,500 and then add to proposed wax? So it spells out exactly what,
That's, yeah, that's
I
what
know,
we're
but-
talking about.
yeah, that's what I'm. Just,
Ordinance.
Because it says it already in setbacks, the following setbacks and separation requirements shall apply to all CWEX and
Okay.
meteorological towers.
okay,
So it's already there in 11.
this.
And then that-
Back and forth. Okay,
That goes and just says what the waiver.
would be,
Yeah, who can do a waiver? And it'd be basically a property owner that's closer than 1,500 feet.
any property closer would have to sign.
Yes. If they choose to.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they choose
Right.
to.
they could veto it.
Yeah, that's where the voluntarily agrees comes into play.
Do I have a motion and a second on changing this language?
I'll make a motion, to change it.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on this language?
Just have a quick question here, so I'm clear in my mind. So. Playing devil's advocate here, so you have a property that's 1,499 feet. Wide, and so it infringes on the next property owner 1 foot. He has the ability to cancel out the waiver for the other guy, or. You know, can they move the tower back a foot and keep it within the adjoining property owner's waiver?
I'm sure they could probably try to slide it to make it work.
As long as that's possible, then I just want to make sure I understand what we're voting on.
Yeah, because you know, if they know they can't get it, I mean, typically you try to make it work within those setbacks.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Any other further discussion on this? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of changing the language in section. And number 11A for property lines. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, Lori, you would change that,
Yes, ma'am. And then we're gonna go back to page 8
okay?
and. So we have, everything else is covered on that. It doesn't change any of the setbacks for public right of ways or communication and electrical lines. It doesn't change that. So we're gonna drop down to 12E. Okay, owners of adjacent property is the current language, may voluntarily agree by written waiver, I mean, I move that again. Written and recorded waiver to a higher average hourly decibel level is measured from any property line of a non-participating parcel. And then we had suggested language, but before we even go there, did you guys want to make any consideration to the comments that were made? Is there any considerations made for, changing the decibel level from average to peak levels?
So do I have a motion and a second to change it from average to peak?
Second.
And then are you gonna keep it as 50 or are you gonna increase that?
Discussion.
And remember, we're at property lines. Not not dwellings.
My question is, if we take out the average. We also need to look at the average hourly decibel level may be exceeded during short-term events such as severe windstorms. So do we take out average not only in A, but in B? Well, speak at once.
So not exceed 50 and just strike average, and the limit is 50 except in extreme weather events, short-term weather events. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unless somebody has something
No,
different.
that's fine.
Okay.
How is this going to be determined? How do we know? If it's been one little bleep over 50 decibels. Somewhere along the line. Is the wax owners gonna be measuring this? Are the property owners gonna be measuring this? How are they gonna be measuring it?
Well, I'm sure the property owners will be.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but,
Yeah.
you know, how,
Every 3 years, we're having an outside.
Yeah.
You come in
yeah, okay.
and figure it
So
from
is
a,
it only gonna be at that time when it's measured, that is when it's,
Is there some kind of meter or sensor on it that
it's done?
detects that?
It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be monitoring. I mean, if you're property owner, you're just concerned about maybe monitoring it all the time. I don't know, but I don't know what kind of equipment they use or. You know, is one meter better than the other one kind of thing, and, you know. You have a thermometer that may be a couple degrees.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, that's.
Yeah.
Be done.
This is the number they call it that you can get in the door.
That,
Oh,
that's, I mean, how do you set the rule, you set the rules, but how do you monitor it?
right. And we're at property lines, not at a house.
Yeah, that's, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't make any difference whether you're out of house or property lines, but I mean,
Well,
by the way you measure it,
well, excuse
by the
me,
way you measure it.
Yeah.
Measuring part.
right.
So I don't know how you. That's why to me, average would work easier. Measuring part of it, I would think. But you can.
So they still measure it.
They
Somebody else
do,
is
they
still
do
monitoring
measure
it.
it, and they're do, you know, they do sound studies, but,
Is it just the honor system?
no.
I don't think you can ever make a
No,
big counter system.
I mean, there's no
well,
outside monitoring.
there is every 3 years. That's what we put in
Like
for
for a snapshot in time. Is that what you're saying?
No, I understand that part, but I mean. If property owner, adjacent property owner thinks, okay, I measured this one day and it was 55. at 12:59 PM or something, whatever. You know, how do we prove that person's correct? Or how do we disprove?
Right. And then
How do we make it, how does?
at the same time, they need to be subtracting out the other noises. You got to subtract
Well,
out.
yeah, you got
the
there's
ambient noise
Right.
in there that has to be
It's
extracted
some-
out.
tractor backfires or something at the same time, you know, if it, that decibel go up.
Yeah.
Cattle or something like that, I don't know.
noisy.
They are. It's a lot in the right direction.
Fifty decibels. So I
We're
don't know
50
how-
decibels in this room right now.
Yeah.
We're 50 decibels in this room.
yeah, I'm having a
almost
little,
when it's silent,
yeah, I have a
hearing
little,
that fan run is probably close to 50 decibels.
I'm having a bit of trouble with this because it is to the property line, it's not to the structure.
Yeah.
And, you know, we put some pretty good thought into that, and 50 decibels is really pretty low. So I'm not necessarily in favor of raising it, sorry. I'm not necessarily in favor of raising it to, yeah, the peak rather than leaving it as average.
I'm really not either, because I think average would be a easier thing to police than it would be peak.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this? I will call for a vote on this. All in
We're
favor,
voting on.
changing it from average to peak. Yeah,
And
leaving it at 50. I think on this one, we might need a roll call vote. So Becca, let's go ahead. Call me last, please.
Mike Burke,
No,
Andy Gerlach,
No.
and Marita Keys.
Yes.
John Manson.
Yeah.
Christine Cobb,
Yes.
Tom Stewart,
No.
Monica McHugh,
No.
Well, we can wait.
So we'll leave that. And then what we were going back to on that. And before we finish it all the way, let's take one step back. Another concern that was brought up was with the waivers, do you guys want to consider changing the setback from 1,500 to greater than 1,500 from a property line? But you'd still have waivers.
I would like to see 2,000. I would be comfortable with at least 2,000.
Is that a motion to change the waiver from 1,500 to 2,000?
Or the total setback.
The total setback.
Yes.
So changing the total setback or the waiver?
The waiver.
Okay, so
That would be-
changing the waiver. Okay, so if the setbacks are 1,500, what are you changing the waiver to?
No, you'd be changing the setback.
Sorry, the setback. yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay,
Right, so I have a motion to change the setbacks from 1,500 feet to 2,000 feet
and that would be from the property line.
from the property line. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, I have a second. Board discussion on this?
Remind me, we've been at this so long, why did we land at 1,500 to begin with?
We weren't that far to begin with before.
We raised it to
We raised
15,
it to
didn't we?
15,
Yeah, cause it
yeah.
was like 1250, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah.
there was 12,
1320? Okay.
that was the quarter mile.
KMAQ radio.
Yeah, that was a quarter mile. And
Quarter
before,
mile, yeah.
before we even started tweaking the ordinance, the original was 1.1. So a 400-foot turbine would be 440 feet from for a setback.
Right.
And so right now, if you took, right now you're like 3.8 for your total setback. So 3.8 times the height of your tower, if your maximum height is 400 feet. And most of the turbines, though, that, they're talking about are like 600-foot turbines. And so those are like 660 setbacks. But with this, if you went to your, 5,000 versus 2,000 square foot, 2,000 foot setback, you'd be at 5 times the tower height. 5 times 400, 2,000.
So your motion would change it to 1,500 wherever it's applicable.
It would change to 2,000.
2,000 from 1,500.
Yes.
Okay,
All the way through the whole ordinance.
anywhere it
Yes,
appears.
it would have to.
Yeah.
You need to make it, conform.
Motion, a second. Any more board discussion on changing this? I think this is another one we need to do a roll call vote when we vote.
So. the waiver would still be the 1,500 feet, but.
No,
or
it
the-
would change waiver and setback from 1,500 to 2,000.
So anyone that lived closer than 2,000 feet could sign the waiver instead of just people with 1,500 feet.
So my only question is, so why do you decide 2,000 rather than 1,500? Right? What do you think the extra 500 feet is gonna do?
I mean, we would protect more residents that. The setback would be more protected.
But it's from property lines, residents, right?
Yeah, property lines.
So we talked, didn't we have discussion about this because of people that may have a back 40 that don't care.
Right.
And didn't want the ordinances to be too strict, that they couldn't.
Right.
Get something.
Right. Because right now we're strict. You know, if you look at the other counties using that 1.1 or 1.2, we're at 3.8 and pushing 5.
But I have back 40s too, and I don't want to go. That's one. So I would be more. That's right.
I don't remember the thought where we land, why you guys landed where you did for the
When we
15.
looked at the map before, there are properties that. I know we looked at one that was. A T. And it would be. There would be nowhere on that property that a windmill could go.
Right,
And even even at the quarter mile.
right.
And so, and I know we talked about 2,000 and we settled on the 1,500. Because that would exceed the 1.1 of the height, because if we were looking at the 1.1, it would be.
440.
440 feet. And so. We more than doubled it with the 1,500.
About 3.8.
Cause I know we went back and forth on this.
And we
because-
talked about the fact that they got in a board of adjustment to where they could go higher, it was still. You know. Within 2.
Right. And I know we've discussed this because there's a county in southeast Iowa that has like a 3,200 foot, I think it's a mile. And. When you. Look at property in central and southwest Iowa. The property owners are typically bigger, it's flatter. And in Jackson County, we don't have somebody who owns 5,000 acres in the middle. Like, which is common in central and southwest Iowa. To have that many acres put together. And I think it was Union County that did their extra feet. So if you move it to this, there would be property owners that would just be completely cut out. I think that's why we settled on the 1,500 feet.
That sounds like. If I recall, that's pretty much our reasoning, yeah.
Is there any more discussion on the motion? If not, I'll go ahead and call for a roll call vote.
Mike Bird,
No,
Amber Gerlach,
No.
Marita Keys,
Yes.
John Manson,
yes,
Christina Bobb,
Yes.
Tom Stewart,
Yes.
Monica McHugh,
No. We have 4 to 3, right? Yeah, so motion carries. So we will move the setbacks and the waivers to 2,000 feet from 1,500.
Remove all setbacks to
Yes.
2,000 feet,
Mhm.
all the way to the ordinance.
Yes.
Okay. And. So we're just making sure that I catch all of those,
Yes.
so. All right, so then we're also in section 4. Under shadow. And.
Or wait a minute, no,
wait,
we
wait,
gotta go to
12.
12. We didn't finish E.
Oopsie,
That was.
Sorry.
Where.
yes, I apologize, thank you. So all right, so let's get back to E.
Inspectors.
Yes, they did. So what the thought was is to change that language. Remove the adjacent out of it, and I'm gonna slide back to that last page behind the ordinance with the suggested language. So what we had is to change that to any property owners may voluntarily agree by written waiver. And actually, we can, excuse me, and I know I'm muddying this up. If you like one of these, oh no, never mind, we can't. Forget what I just said. Any property owner may voluntarily agree by what written waiver recorded with the Jackson County Recorder, which describes the burden property and advises all subsequent owners of the property of the allowed higher than average decibel level measured from the property owner. So that's the waiver suggestion from number E under section 412. And that's just changing that language more to match and remove the word adjacent.
What we did with the.
Right.
the-
So do I have a motion and a
Just a
second?
second, Lori, when you read that, you said higher than average, but average than is not in there.
Higher average hourly decibel level as measured from the property line. We don't need them then.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so do I have a motion and a second to change section 4, number 12, letter E, from the current language to the suggested language?
I saw.
I have a move.
I'll
motion-
second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Any discussion, or are we okay with this? All right, all in favor of changing the current to the proposed for section 4, number 12, letter E? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go to the next one.
All right, so that is also gonna be under section 4. And that is gonna be on shadow flicker. And so section 4, number 14, number C. How it's currently written, again, the owners of adjacent property may voluntarily agree by written waiver. And then the suggested change would be, of course, to remove that adjacent. And any property owners may voluntarily agree by written waiver recorded with the Jackson County Recorder, which describes the burden property and advises all subsequent property owners of the property of the allowed shadow flicker on their property being greater than 0 hours as measured from a property line. And those are property line. Oh, let me get to it here. I think the only really difference is adjacent.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
all right, I have a move. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second. Any other discussion on changing the language? If not, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of changing current to proposed?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay. I told you guys I was gonna jump back to something.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do, and it's in two different sections. And I really, girls, I copied this out, both paragraphs, sat at home one night at my counter. I'm like, I just couldn't combine them. We found some redundancy in two different sections. Let me get to them. The first is on page 7, under signal interference. And then the other one is on page 9, under electromagnetic interference. I'm gonna let you guys look at those. And the electromagnetic interference is on number J on page 9, and the signal interference is number 8 on page 7.
In 8, under signal interference, it's the WEX company that determines if their equipment is the reason for the interference, but it doesn't specify on J in the EMI. So that part isn't consistent,
Okay,
but if you want to merge them, I don't.
there, yeah, because that was what we were thinking. We still needed to merge them, but I didn't know if you wanted to merge them under signal interference or under the EMI part of section J.
Could you change it to under the EMI, put signal interference and EMI?
Yeah.
And then just write one thing.
Yeah,
I don't know where you want to push. Which one you want to do under?
You need to share the or you're not. I don't know, I think we'll do. But it's probably- okay.
truthfully, I think, adding signal interference to the number J. And then, you know, reference the part of the ordinance that it also quotes. Combine number A to J. And probably make reference also to section 3 about the no, we can't do that. You know, we might have to keep the redundancy because one is about the general requirements, which is part of the application or part of the
Take the EMI and put it in the signal interference on 8,
probably could.
just do the word
Okay,
and just have language that. I mean, then you would have basically civilian interference as well as emergency responder interference. I'm still like not,
why do we need to combine?
do you think they're redundant?
I don't think very good.
No,
So they're stating two different things, aren't they?
Usually the signal interference is an EMI though. It's the same thing. We can keep it separate. It was just kind of brought out that there was some concerns about it. So I was kind of looking to see if I could make changes and consolidate them, and I'm struggling.
Well, if you're gonna leave them the same, then I think we need to decide who decides the signal interference, because if you just leave it on the wind company, they're gonna say, well, it's not us.
This is one I really struggle with.
I mean, especially, it's not so much even with the civilian stuff, which is a problem, that's with the emergency responders.
And
Because it doesn't specify under the emergency responders who determines it, but it does under the other signal interference.
I struggle with this one altogether anyway, because sunspots, which we can't control, can affect your telephone. And so this is just ones that I really struggle with. How does the electric company determine?
Well, if we have a complaint, we address it. For an example, back in the day, I believe it was Sandra, there was interference with the radio stations out her way, so we went and put suppressors on, but we're a member owned, this is not a member owned.
I know. I just struggle with this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my concern is too, is they might get a complaint and they might or might not address it, you know what I mean?
And I,
Sunspots wouldn't be as consistent as windmill interference, though.
But if it, sunspots, you can't control those.
no,
No, you-
But if you have interference because of the tower itself, that can be addressed. It's just a matter of whether the company will do it or not.
or acknowledge that it's them.
And it's acknowledged that it's them, correct?
Because in number 8, signal interference, it just says if they've received written complaint. The operator shall take reasonable steps to determine if their equipment is the reason for the interference and respond to the complaint. So, and then the other one is if determined that the interference is being created due to the wind energy device facility, the owner shall take necessary corrective measures to eliminate the interference.
I would say you'd have to have that language over on the signal interference about owner shall take the necessary corrective measures in both 8 and J.
Just
would-
change the language
I would-
to match.
I would agree to
Where
that.
the language
yes.
matches.
Adding the last sentence in J to 8. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, just, I mean.
Then I'd have
substitute
to-
it.
I have to remove some of the language
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So remove the. How about change that last sentence to match that whole
Yeah,
last sentence?
That's what,
Yeah.
yeah, I think. So strike the last sentence of number 8 and replace with the last sentence of J. Is that what we want to do?
So starting at
If it is determined that the.
or after construction. After construction, so we would replace.
If-
we replace them.
Yeah, we have correct
Is
statements. Yeah.
Okay, so keep if after the construction. All right, got it.
Okay, so do I have a motion for that? And let's state it.
So we're on 8, if after construction of the wax and then pasting in the language, it is determined that the interference is created. Are we getting rid of the written complaint part?
No, I think we need to keep the written complaint part in there.
Okay,
If after a written complaint it is determined, is that what you're saying?
That's what I would
Yeah.
suggest, but do I have a motion for,
Well, I thought you were in the
yeah,
process.
she
of
is in the
motion.
process, yeah, so I think we need to add. If after construction of the WEX, a written complaint is received
Related to the above mentioned interference,
related to the above mentioned interference.
and it is determined that interference is being created due to the wind energy device facility, the owner shall take the necessary corrective measures to eliminate interference.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Okay, I have a motion.
Do we need owner and operator?
I
Yeah.
prefer the owner operator stay in there,
Yeah,
because we don't need the complaint, they need.
yeah,
But I mean, on J, it just has the owner.
Oh, then that needs to be changed to owner operator.
Right, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
you need to
yeah,
say
yeah.
operator there.
yeah, yes, we are in the middle of the motion. So would you like to restate your motion?
I can paste it. Let's see, if after construction of the WEX, the owner, so take that and out, owner operator receives a written complaint related to the above mentioned interference. If it is determined that the interference is being created due to the wind energy device facility, the owner shall take the necessary corrective measures to eliminate owner/operator. Yeah, owner/operator shall take the necessary corrective measures to eliminate interference or the interference.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I could second that.
Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? Aye. All right, so the next one.
Thank you, guys. Cause I struggled, I really did, I truly did. Alright, so under section 6. We begin on page where it's here. Under discontinuance. And this came together
What
at,
page, man?
number,
Page 11, I think.
page 11. Thank you.
I got it. Okay.
What was that? I don't know where. Yeah. Where she.
So going through the discontinuance. If you read it through the first paragraph. Let me get to the long paragraph. Shoot, sorry, guys, I'm struggling here. So we need to get through the part of it all the way down to. Before number 2. I'm just trying to find language because I've already changed it on my note. Okay, so after the part up here where it says, about the decommissioning plan being reviewed by an appointed, representative every 3 years, an appointed representative supervisors. Go ahead and slide down to your, the changes. Your sheet of changes, and I'm gonna go ahead and share this real quick too, and then come back to it. But failure of the owner operator to reach a reasonable agreement on sufficient financial security for decommissioning will be considered a breach of the Jackson County zoning permit that was issued for the CWEX. The Jackson County Board of Supervisors on their sole discretion may revoke the permit and order the CWEX to be removed with the cost to be paid by the owner operator. And the reason for that was, it's like, well, what if we don't want to make the change? Or we know costs have increased and that bond can't be covered with what they're offering. So that's was their recommendation to add that decommissioning would have to take place at their expense at that point.
Are you saying the supervisors asked for this or the lawyer or the county attorney did?
It'd be the county attorney asked for this language.
Okay,
He saw a hole.
he's awful. Okay,
Yep.
all right.
I still even struggle with this. Because it's in the landowner contract on the decommissioning. We can put whatever language we want in a decommissioning plan. And the contract will still supersede anything that we put in an ordinance.
But this isn't saying what they have to do at ground or below ground. This is just saying, do it now. Get it down. That's because he's like, it's gonna be, it's to their advantage to get the bond up to where it's supposed to be was his thinking. Right?
No.
Oh,
I'll ask for a motion.
Well, I just, after county board of supervisors comment, it should, instead of on, it should be at their sole discretion.
okay.
So I will make a motion, or I will ask for a motion in a second.
I'll move. I'll second.
Any other discussion or changes that should be made? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? I'll say no. All right, next change.
Okay, this goes underneath the catastrophic failure part of that ordinance. And in D is where there's recommended language change. Penalties for violations of these timelines will start one day after the missed deadline. The Jackson County Board of Supervisors may proceed with decommissioning, cleanup, and removal at the expense of the owner operator. That's the catastrophic failure damage
Right.
portion.
They'd hire a contractor, they'd hire a
Again.
contractor.
It's on private property. And if the county tried to come in and clean up, we've had this discussion before. My property, when something is already in my contract. Because I'm smart enough to go to an attorney before I sign a contract. This bothers me as well.
I would venture to think that the county attorney's suggestion would be to have it something in place if it was to become necessary. Of course, we cannot foresee the future, we cannot know what's going to happen. But this suggestion would be more on like, let's cover our behinds.
I think it's
Let's put it in writing, hoping it doesn't happen, but if it happens, there's something in place, at least there's a suggestion, a point to start from.
There's recourse, which you guys have been fighting for. It's like, where's the penalty if they don't do it? Well, here's one of them.
I don't disagree, but I'm also playing the devil's advocate that. Should be in the landowner's contract.
But if it drops on their property. And then it remains on their property, but then there's another natural disaster, it blows it into the neighbors.
There has to be some kind of recourse. I mean,
And I'm not disagreeing with any of that. My concern is, we don't know what's in the contract. These people are getting very large payments. Why aren't they paying for it instead of taxpayers paying for it?
Well, the company would pay.
It is the company's expense.
Of the owner operator.
But what's in the contract? I mean, we don't know what's in the contract. They may be
Well,
getting this large.
my guess,
Kind of in a case.
Yep, no.
We're
Do I
putting
have
it,
a motion?
we're putting this in because we don't know what's in the contract. I will, so move.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? I'll say no. I'm trying to state,
I know what you're doing.
you know what you're doing, you know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Okay, so section 7, we're into the wildlife monitoring. And there's a part in here under number 1C that talks about training shall be provided to the construction contractor and operations maintenance staff. And that's gonna be about wildlife mitigation. And remember where we got this language from, it was, Lynn County. So the question that was raised on this, who pays for that training? We don't have it spelled in there.
And who provides it?
Yeah, who pays for the training, who monitors? Same with D. This will need to be decided and added.
Thought we're gonna hire an outside professional to do that.
Is it DNR? Is it, National Wildlife? Are they already trained and certified in something we don't know? I'm almost like, do we want to strike number C? And,
I think the CWEX owner facilitator, they should pay for it.
But should, or can supervisors determine who provides the training then? Like what outside,
Maybe I
they
think,
could just have Joe from the janitorial
Right.
department providing the training.
Well, they have to, they've got to coordinate with DNR and.
See, that's something I have an issue with too, because it doesn't really specify what that looks like.
Okay, so let's back up. Who does this sort of training? Do we even know?
no. This is a language we kind of blindly, use because it was a trusted resource.
I thought we were leaving the supervisors up to determining who they wanted to conduct that.
And usually we spell out, an independent third party chosen by the supervisors.
So that's enough language there to
That
satisfy independent
could
third
be-
party?
that could be language we use, but I'm looking at this and rereading it going,
Maybe I'm taking it for granted, but I thought that's what the intent there was.
yeah. So I'm rereading it going, training shall be provided to the construction contractor and operations maintenance staff. About, isn't there already industry standards probably by the wind company?
We don't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're not,
We haven't had a lot of that.
um,
So what kind of training? I mean, what's the training look like for a wind turbine operator? I have no clue. But yeah, but that was the question. Who provides the training and who pays for it? It's not in here. And then who monitors? If that's been if that was done.
And I'm sorry, Lori, who asked that question? Who had those concerns?
Me.
I do.
Okay.
Okay,
I hear your question, Mary.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear your question though, I know, yeah,
Because otherwise, why have it in there?
Yeah.
If we can't answer that,
right,
why have that statement in there?
Right.
Well, indeed, we have, I mean, I would assume if we have the DNR as part of this coordination, then they would be kind of an inside monitoring as to whether the coordination is actually happening.
that brings me back to his number C and letter C. but-
Exactly.
but we can't even get the DNR here to even discuss this.
Oh, we're not the Lone Rangers,
No, we're not. I mean, they won't show up anywhere.
that's status, yeah.
So,
So how do we even have that in the?
Because we don't know if there will be. Well, there will be recommendations. By at least, there'll be recommendations and or requirements. So that would be the
We know what they
coordination.
are.
No, they don't do that until the siting, and I think each site is
Different.
unique. There's different places,
It's a different
especially
habitat.
especially our county, we
Yeah.
are so unique. We have probably more bat population than a lot of the counties do. I mean, we have places farmed out, roost and hide and hibernate, they don't.
So who is going to do the mitigation plan talked about in number one? They're submitting something.
That would be the owner operator. They have a mitigation plan.
Right, but is the owner operator going to write that plan? Are they going to contact somebody to do it? What I'm getting at is, should that somebody that writes the plan be down here training and monitoring?
In accordance with the plan.
Right. Because the owner operator would they have the necessary education to write that type of a plan? Or are they going to go to another?
They'd have to have it. I guess you can't tell them if they have to write it themselves or seek. I mean, if they have inside people that they've hired, because they do have specialized people within their employ, they have geologists, hydrologists,
Right.
natural resource people. So I can't tell you that they're gonna do it in-house, but I can't tell you they're gonna hire it out either.
Well,
And if
so
they-
this is necessary for even the permitting process, or the siting and the permitting. Or once the site is chosen, in order for them to get a permit, they'd have to submit this plan.
This would be part of that. I do believe, let's go back to permitting.
I'm guessing they can't submit their own plan. They could make it very favorable.
Well, we could say as, if it's approved by zoning or board of supervisors or whatever, I guess board of supervisors.
Yeah, and then two, they're gonna also have to be following and or the regulations by the state or national DNR, or remember, we also have in our wildlife plan, the recommendations,
Right.
the ones that are not regulatory. So we have that extra buffer there.
And the Iowa DNR knows they'll be asked to.
They what?
Do they know they'll be asked to do
No.
these things?
because,
No,
sorry,
it
we closed the hearing, man.
I was just gonna,
That, we closed the hearing, so that's not fair to allow.
that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. Have they read our draft ordinance?
Right.
Maybe,
That's what I'm saying. Are we
But-
telling them they're doing something that they maybe don't even do
maybe,
or can't do?
maybe,
So maybe want to check that before
maybe.
putting it in an ordinance.
Well,
But
maybe
then
they
again,
follow
if
our
it's-
rules.
Yeah, we'd have to.
But maybe there's no coordination between them. they've done their job, you know, they're like, man, we don't have anything. Then. Can't coordinate with someone that's not, doesn't have anything to say. But yeah, I don't know, this is all, it's just amazing what you see and when you really start asking what if, the who, what, when, where, why, and the why, what gets me on some of these, you guys.
I mean, is it possible that the DNR might be laughing, saying they're telling us we're doing something we don't even know about? I don't mean necessarily laughing, but also,
Or what are they thinking?
what it, yes,
Yeah.
like, they really think they can tell us what to do.
So I don't know what you guys want to do with this. You want to leave it as it is and let the Board of Supervisors see if they have concern with it, or what's your concerns or thoughts?
Let's do that.
Nick's supposed to laugh, but he's not. So, but yeah, so I just brought it up at the concern of Sandra and Christine. And,
And it's hard to know what the DNR would do since they will not tell us what they would do.
and, yeah, and then they have recommendations that they don't want as governance.
If nobody's got a motion on it, then we'll have to move to the next.
I say really don't. Because we aren't educated enough to, we don't have the proper. No, to change it.
The way it is.
Go to the next one.
Okay, so page 13, and I'm gonna move away from my suggested language page and go up to page 13 for just a minute. And then we are going to section. Okay, so we need to change some language in here. There's a couple words that probably got left out. So in the conservation department, that language is read. The work of installing and ensuring the buffer around the sensitive area is to be done by
Don't we have
a Jackson County Conservation Department approved. And we need to insert Jackson County in front of
Yeah.
there, so a Jackson County Conservation Department approved independent third party.
Runoff is one word.
Pardon?
Runoff is one word. At the end of that sentence.
Okay. Well, that's something you guys told me to correct before. Great.
Okay. there was a lot.
Yeah, and then I did get it on until like 3 days or 4 days later,
Oh,
because,
you were sick.
yeah. Not to make excuses, but.
Well,
I'll move that we change the wording there to the Jackson County Conservation Department and local places. And you need to add the word "the" there.
Yes,
Okay,
Um,
I'll,
done by a Jackson County Conservation Department approved. Oh, I don't need,
By the
excuse me,
Jackson County.
where are you up here?
No. By a Jackson.
there should be a Jackson County Conservation.
There's
By
Okay,
a
yep.
Jackson County Conservation Department approved independent third party.
Yep. All right, I have a motion to change.
We have to do something else in there too, we'll put it, do it all together.
yeah, I did that.
You got
My
that
motion
in there too?
includes both of those
Okay,
red
excuse me.
highlighted, but also adding the word Jackson to that top one there. That's not in there.
Okay.
So.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Any other discussion on the wording change here to change Conservation Department to a Jackson County Conservation Department? No other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay, and this was kind of like one of these with the county attorney. John had some concerns about what was in red. The Jackson County Board of Supervisors chooses to honor any protected buffers that are placed around specified areas by neighboring counties in relationship to their CWEX ordinance, should that buffer extend to our county. That was one of these, it's like, are we giving up rights in our county and not making a decision for our own land use by what other, so it's one of those, but ultimately, you know, could the Board of Supervisors make that change?
Well, it
Yes.
came from the Board of Supervisors.
Pardon me?
That was one of Don's
Yeah.
Suggestions.
suggestions.
Okay,
But
So-
it's one I had concerns with.
Yeah, well, you know, we can, seems it came from them if they want to deal with that, you know, I think that's.
okay,
It's
then
fair to leave it to them.
okay.
I would hope that they would then ask for a reciprocal agreement with the neighboring counties,
Right.
rather than just us giving in.
Well, that was his intent that night. I
Yeah.
remember him talking about that and he said, you know, they would honor our, you know, our zoning, we'd honor theirs if it extended over.
But then that would need to be specified.
Right.
That was my concern. That's why. I
Oh, yeah.
like this one.
Yeah, I get it, but it came
And I
from
know,
him.
I know it came from the supervisors, but it's one that I had
Sure.
great concerns about that I
Sure.
didn't think.
We could take it out and they could put it back in.
Or we leave it, you know, I mean, whatever you guys want to do, but ultimately we know what, you know, where it would. And John will have more dialogue with him, I'm sure, as things get closer.
I would
I-
think that they would seek his guidance on it.
Yeah.
I would, I'm for just leaving it the way it is and letting the supervisors decide if that's what
I
they
think
want or
we
not.
had
I would,
extended into Jackson County.
I would,
At the very end.
Oh,
Well, you can't, so
I
if
can-
somebody else
I know
would
I
make a
can.
motion, you could support it.
I do, that's one that I had
Instead of
concerns with,
our-
that I talked about before when we wanted to put it in.
I think, Sandra, do you want to make a motion for that change?
We had suggested at the very end, should that buffer extend into Jackson County instead of our county?
Just make that change. You guys, you want to agree to that?
I have a motion. Do I have a second to
Second.
change, should that buffer extend into Jackson County?
Second.
I have a second.
That would make sense.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, one note, I had a question here. And, basically I was questioning. I didn't know what it looked like. But there was some talk early on, unless you guys think we have it covered up. I mean, covered, you know, covered with.
Don't say cover up.
I know, I'm like, shit, I keep up
Don't
with
say
it.
that.
But unless you think we've already covered that part of it, additional study within 1,320 feet around any sinkhole for stability. We got it, we don't have any studies or any type of engineering assessments or anything like that, because we've never been advised on anything. All we did is put the riparian, the buffer of native grasses and trees to protect the water tables from runoff. So that, I just wanted to throw that out there, just to muddy the waters a little bit, not
I
really, but
Thought we put in for the geological survey We did, we put,
It didn't make it. I don't think it was ever part of a vote.
oh, I thought we did.
There was discussion.
I thought for the permitting process, we had to do it, have them do a geological survey.
I think that's part of their work anyway, but I don't think that's part of our, hang on here, let's look. Oh, there is.
Yeah.
United States Geological Survey, topographical map and map of similar data of the property and of surrounding area, including any other CWEX within 10 rotor diameters of the CWEX. Okay, it
Okay,
covers
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I thought you meant something specific.
No,
And-
so it already does it for the geological survey, so
Okay.
I don't think we need that
Okay.
unless anybody else thinks we need something like that.
It's gonna be covered. I mean, it's like, I understand it's part of their research anyway, but
All right, with the changes made tonight. Do I have a motion after the changes are made to send this to the Board of Supervisors?
I made that motion.
And I would second it.
Does anybody have any other further discussion?
I got one thing. There are still like punctuation, spelling issues. Are we able to change those as long as they don't change the meaning of the
Yes.
ordinance?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
we're good.
so you and Sandra will
Yes, ma'am.
send me back anything I've overlooked.
all
So-
right. Any further discussion? If not, I will call for vote to send this to the Board of Supervisors.
After the revision.
After the revisions and punctuation and grammar are corrected. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
You guys all say that again. I just want to make sure I heard you right. I.
Aye. I need to take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
7 to 7.
Oh.
Well, this is the last one for the college anyway. I don't follow.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. I might watch the Super. I was just gonna say, I wanna watch the national championship.
It's 7 to 7 right now, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. it's
Don't
just
tell
into
him,
the second
we
quarter.
might be recording, we wanna know the suspense, don't take the
Oh, I'm
suspense
sorry.
out of it.
Well, it's still like the start of the game. It's time. So.
Well, it's the fourth game of the year.
I know. I wasn't real pleased with that either. Yeah, well. It is what it is.
Right here. Well,
we're gonna dive into redoing the whole zoning ordinance. I'll stick around for that. That's gonna be.
Yeah, you guys don't want to miss out on this.
Oh, yeah.
You think winds dry? No, it needs some revamping, you guys. And there's, hang on, let me call Laura. In the corner and, there's the program. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Here. It, they're supposed to be a hyphen in there. There's no 1 year.
No.
After, well,
Okay.
well, okay. It, and maybe it, since it's not,
Did you apply?
okay, after.
Okay, yeah, they even have an ad in the paper.
I was.
Are you gonna be ready in 2 minutes? Okay, okay, all right, I'll bring you. Yeah, I had let you know when Abby resigned. She resigned in June and was permitted effective in summer. So, yeah, she didn't, they're gonna wait.
Right.
We'll have, we
Earlier.
no, they don't let that. They make everybody.
Every 30.
Yeah.
So are we
I
leaving?
gotta email you the application back in like July or August. Sorry, I told you it would take an application.
No, but. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm confused. Rather than, she told me,
Which
which
even
one,
technically, I think, and one. I think that it's supposed to. Up to 10. Okay, so here she has the.
I wouldn't do that.
That is, that's right, no, because it's. But that means that that's not.
Yes.
They haven't been around there.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
She's right. I don't know, she's good. If we find out, I don't know, find her. We got it. I turn. For the secondary roads.
Yeah, I think she also did it. And she, oh, I don't think, I think she took out all of those, yeah. Secondary agreements. And she said, you know, what she affected whatever, and then the rest of them agreed.
Okay.
Don't enjoy the game.
Fair.
Yeah. I know, it's not-
He's gonna go home and watch the game. I wanna go home and watch the game too, Monica.
I know, so did you not record it?
I am recording it, but I'm also cheating here and watching the score as it progresses.
What's the score?
7-7 right after the first half, or the first quarter.
First quarter.
First quarter. They're on the second quarter, and so 7-7.
Ohio
Notre Dame.
and Notre Dame. I really want Ohio.
Not that I want them to win, I just don't want them to beat.
There's
So do
always that.
They are the lesser of two evils in my mind.
They're a big.
They're the Big Ten team, yes, that's
We're
right.
waiting on Lori to come back.
She said you could start.
Oh, can we start? Okay, let's go ahead and start. The zoning ordinance
Right there.
update.
Do you wanna wait for
Laura,
Chris?
do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure.
Oh, Chris, oh, wait a minute, we're not, I'm sorry, we're not back yet. Hold on, I'm sorry, Laura.
Oh,
Well, that's okay. Becca,
Yes,
maybe you wanna load the PowerPoint while we're waiting?
I will definitely.
Okey dokey.
Chris. Oh, yeah.
There's Laura. Oh, good, it's not picking me up. I'm too close to it.
So can we adjust the size of either the PowerPoint or the screen? Cause it's cutting off some of the slide.
Let me see what I can do.
There we go.
Maybe I could.
Whoop.
I was trying to see if I could ink it in, you know.
Okay, are we ready or are you still waiting for someone to come back?
Right here. Sorry.
Oh, we're ready to go? Okay, well,
Thank you, Laura.
you're welcome. So what we put together for you tonight is you really kind of your first work session review of the zoning ordinance. But we want to make sure we also touch base on some things that are already in place. So what I have there is the outline of the main topics we'll cover, and then the schedule. This is pretty much the same as the schedule you saw at your December meeting, except we did extend the project website design into January. We do have that up, and I'll be sending a link out for that. You can go to the next slide.
Just a second here, I did something to make it better and it didn't. Will I take it back? Yeah, no. Oh, well.
Okay, there we go. So as part of the initiation of the project that we get started with developing, you had asked at the December meeting for the current zoning ordinance. We've provided that for you. Some of the things that we've noted with this ordinance is it's kind of loosely organized. It doesn't have a lot of headings or tables or illustrations. There isn't even a chapter for the zoning commission. And we think there should be separate ones for the commission and the Board of Adjustment. And there are some language changes that are needed to be consistent with Iowa code. So given that, the discussion we had in the past was that for this update, we have some broad goals. We want it to be user-friendly, better organized. We have a number of concerns that have come up with uses and how things are developed. We want to also look at creating a new subdivision district for those older subdivisions created before zoning went into effect, reference Iowa code, and add tables, illustrations, definitions for clarity. Can go to the next slide. So I wanted to touch base on a couple things that are coming into play as part of the zoning ordinance update. We need to take a look at the county vision goals and objectives that were in place. And so in particular, that land use policy from 2022, which was used to help develop the land use section of the comprehensive plan, but also that shared vision that came out of the comprehensive plan and goals in all the chapters that may apply to zoning in some fashion. So let's take a quick look at those policy goals, a refresher for those of you who have seen them, but I think it's important just to walk through them. So the way the policy is set up, it's a statement. It begins with this kind of an opening sentence that talks about some fundamental goals that you see here. And from there, it goes on to a set of objectives. You can go to the next slide, Lori. Oh. And so the very first one here talks about accommodating anticipated growth by providing the best locations we can for various types of public land uses. And then this objective has I'm not sure what the wording was. Maybe just additional criteria that go along with this objective.
Next.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the remaining objectives here are 2 through 5. And then we can go to the next slide, 6 through 10. These are just something that we're going to continue to keep in mind as we work through this process with you. But I did want to make sure that you had something to reference them as we go forward. If we could go, okay, thank you. The comprehensive plan has, as I mentioned, a land use chapter, and there were 4 goals in that chapter. 2 of them were under a subheading called best practices. You can see the very first one relates right back to that land use policy. The other is making sure that we're coordinating with cities. Go to the next slide. The second set of goals were preservation oriented for land that's viable for agriculture, as well as areas associated with park and open space and natural resources. And we can go to the next slide. So those goals also relate to this future land use map. And the cities of Bellevue, Maquoketa, and Preston have identified growth areas. And so those are shown as kind of little bubbles around those cities. And so that's where we would want to be coordinating with these cities for any updates. All 3 of them have their own comprehensive plans and zoning ordinances. And again, just a reminder that although most of what we're looking at is in the land use element, we should still be cognizant of the goals in the other chapters that may help us with how we might want to have uses or other types of regulations develop as part of this update. So that this now is our initial draft. We're starting out with a series of red line of the current ordinance and then a clean version so you can see the results. So all this is doing is, if your ordinance had a table of contents, this is how we would propose revising it. So what we've suggested is that chapter 1 become general provisions and have more information about context relative to Iowa code and to the overall format of the ordinance. Go to the next slide. Chapter 2 is the zoning district regulations. So kind of splitting the current chapter 1 into 1 and 2. Here we would have each of the districts numbered. We're looking at table formats for regulations. And we're also looking to develop that new residential district that I mentioned for those older areas. You can go to the next slide. Chapter 3 is for administration and enforcement and pretty much remains as is at the moment. We can go to the next slide. Chapter 4 it becomes a chapter just for the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 5 is one just for the Zoning Commission. And then chapter 6 is for definitions. I'm going to tell you, this is how we're working through this, but at any point we can change things, split chapters into smaller chapters. We just need to get we just want to get an outline before you so you can see where we'd like to get started. But we can always adapt things to what you want. So this is with all the red line taken into account. We have chapter 1 outlined here. You can see now that chapter 2, how our zoning districts are set up in a similar format in terms of their headings. You can go to the next slide. And then how the other chapters also fall into place. So are there any questions or concerns with that restructure at this point? And you can always ask in the future too if you don't have any tonight. Okay. Let's go on to chapter 1 then. So now we're pulling ourselves into more detail here. Now we're looking within the chapter, not just its outline. So I mentioned we're proposed that this is general provisions with more relationship to Iowa code. And so you'll see that we have some references to Iowa code. The bullet points kind of give you the play-by-play of where we move things from, where we left things, and where we added things. So here we have much more information about referencing the land use policy and the comprehensive plan. And then we can go to the next slide, Lori.
Okay, I'm going to try to change this because I know that the people in the room are having trouble reading this from the back. So let me just try this again.
Okay, no problem.
I'm going to keep going for you, Nan.
Okay. So a lot of this is just this really is language that is typically found in ordinances, and so as part of the update, we're recommending it for the Jackson County ordinance. You can go to the next page. If you're ready. One more one more
Second.
slide. Mhm.
Do you want me to go to your PowerPoint? Because I'm doing this off our PDF. Oh, this is. Oh, okay, we'll just keep it like this then for right now then. Okay, I'm sorry. Next,
It
you said-
doesn't matter to me because the content is the same.
Okay,
Whatever works better for you all.
okay,
And so this is the end of what would be chapter 2. And we can, if you want, we can walk through the clean version now. The next slide starts that. So you can see this chapter went from just a few things to a lot more information that really links it with Iowa code, gives a little more definition to how this ordinance is supposed to function as we walk through it. We can go to the next slide, Lori. Let's see.
I got you.
I'm on slide 22. I don't know.
we match,
Yep, now we can go to the next one.
okay,
Okay. So then chapter 3 is a red line that is so simple. It's virtually a clean version. So it's very minimal. Lori, we can just step to the next one. There's really not much that Lori wanted to have changed beyond that. So we can just move on to the next one, Lori. Please, thank you. Okay, so this is now the creation of a chapter for the zoning commission. So we have used information that the zoning commission has already developed and had approved by the board of supervisors. So the first two sections, 5.1, 5.2, are taken from the commission's established rules and procedures. So that language should look familiar. And then there's new sections related to Iowa Code, 5.3 and 5.6. We filled in with some other sections that came from 5.4 and 5. And so we move through the next page. You can see where we've done that. Set up the powers and duties for the commission based on Iowa code. And then if we go to the next page. So what we're proposing here is to use the language you have. Some of it, when it shows up green, it means it's the same language, it's just getting moved. And really trying to set up changes between what I would call text changes or text amendments versus map changes or rezonings. So we're starting to do that. We'll say this chapter we should probably let you have a look at a couple times because this is a lot of information. But this is the intention of what we're recommending at this point. And then we can go to the next section. So again, just some more using the existing language, moving it around, but adding in more information about how the procedures are handled. And then if we can go to the next slide, Lori. We also brought in the language from the Iowa Code for creating the comprehensive plan and making adjustments and amendments to it. Again, we could just pull up that clean version now, Lori. So you can kind of see now, now that's the commission has its own chapter. Its rules are set forth in a standard fashion, using what you've already developed. It's organized so that you can see the powers and duties. Going to the next slide. Please.
Sorry, I was writing down some other information that popped up on my screen.
Okay. So then we have its powers and duties. Then that was text changes and amendments. We have a series of procedures and standards for review. And then one more page. Two. Let's see, we can't see which one you're on. There we go. So then another section for the map changes, the rezoning again, procedures and standards for review. And then I think the next page is the end of that chapter. Yeah. And so finishing up then with that comprehensive plan process. And then that is our review for this evening. Be happy to answer any questions.
I know they're happy.
I know this is
Because
something that's
it's
needed to be done for
faster.
a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Any
gonna,
questions about time or anything like that, you guys, for Laura?
I don't, right now, we've got the timetable, so.
Okay.
yep. And you have this information, we can come back to it at future meetings, but again, we're on kind of a fast track here, so we're going to try and get a lot of information pushed through to you. So thank you for your patience. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Laura.
You're welcome. Okay. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
So
Here's
other,
my favorite section.
no, you're not done. Other business is election of officers. No, not the adjournment. And we gotta talk.
No, the election, no, that's what I'm looking at.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You gotta punt it too.
Well, that should really take over.
Here's the deal, let me say something. I was joking with Monica there is a section in there that says, the president shouldn't be, or the chairman of the board shouldn't, serve 2 years in a row. I'll guarantee you that I've served more than 2 years in a row over the years. And I've been the chairman of this commission on a number of occasions.
You have that.
And so I would be more than willing to stay on the commission, but I really don't want to be the chairman next year. And so with that having said, I think anybody else on here could do it. And I just guess it's who's interested.
I think we can nominate.
We can. I was gonna see if anybody would express an interest before I nominated somebody.
I agree. Does anyone have a desire? The people looking down at their books are like, no.
I'm gonna nominate somebody if you don't volunteer. Okay, if that's the case, I warned Mike about this. I'm gonna nominate Mike to be the chairman next year.
I'm gonna second that.
Quick, go to a vote.
I'm going to vote.
Go to a vote.
I'm going to wait a minute. Do we have any other nominations?
Yeah, that's right.
I move that we cease nominations.
I'll second.
No, I have a second. All right, all in favor of me handing the gavel over to Mike?
Aye.
Any
You finish that.
opposed?
I think Mike will do a great job. Now, the question is because and I apologize, because typically the vice chairman steps into the chairman's role. But again, I did it so many times. Then the question is, who should we put in as vice chair?
You.
Not me again.
I don't.
I can nominate you, right?
Sure.
I'm gonna have to change the favorites in my speed dial now.
Oh, Mike, you're gonna move up to a favorite.
And guess what? I come off the list.
Well, you'll still be on a different one.
I nominate Tom for vice chair.
I'll second that.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Now, wait a second, now,
We should see his nomination.
now you gotta realize, next
I
year I'm gonna
second
say
that.
the same thing. And I'm not gonna step up, I'm not gonna want to step up to chair anymore next year than I'm gonna want to this year.
All in favor of Tom as vice chair? Aye.
Fine, I'll do
Any
that.
opposed? You're stuck.
Okay,
Congratulations,
all right.
gentlemen.
Okay, all right.
Okay, when someone, no, not yet, we're not done. So our office, the zoning administrator has been acting as your secretary. Do you want to continue that, or do you want it to pass to one of your board members?
They can't be a
I
board member.
I would move that we keep the secretary as is.
Okay, all right,
I would
I'll
second.
second.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you okay with that, Becca?
Thank you.
I sign it, but she does. She's
Well, I don't like making people do jobs they don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's not.
You do a great
doesn't-
job.
Yeah, she does a great job.
She loves working here. She's not even looking for another.
Is that what she told you?
But she told me I did. That person,
Not that I'd be quit by, I would have quit by now.
I did, yeah, I did say something about that, didn't I? Yeah, good, kudos.
Okay, discussion about what our next meeting's gonna look like, since we did get through chapters 1 through 3. I think what we'll do is go through with Laura up front, get through her stuff. And then what I will do is present a draft of the solar energy ordinance and
Look at Tom, don't look at me.
solar energy ordinance.
Look at
The
my,
solar
look at my
energy ordinance and commercial battery storage, or utility scale battery storage.
Right,
So we'll have a draft ordinance and
So
I kind
where are you getting the draft from?
of everywhere, a little bit of everywhere and kind
From
of
other
knowing
counties?
some of it, but at the same time, I'm using that and the direction you guys took us on the wind ordinance, kind of knowing what some of your desires are, also using the comprehensive plan and the land use. The land use provisions of our county and kind of trying to shape some of that. Because I know preservation of ag land is important. You guys have discussed that, indicated that in the comprehensive plan. So one of the things I would look at is having a minimum panel height of at least 7 feet, which would allow grazing and horticulture underneath, did I say it right, Tom? Horticulture, underneath the arrays. You could go as high as 9, but that would be more for horse grazing, but cattle grazing is usually 7. And then indicate spacing that will allow for hay production underneath. If you guys, as we get into it, if you guys want some type of CSR rating where you do not want to see these, or have higher provisions of what has to be done agriculturally, depending on the CSRs, a 50% or 60% of the land has to be in active agricultural production of some sort, and kind of go that way. Am I hitting what I feel from you guys or not? Because the land use is important, I know to you guys, and you guys have made that pretty clear.
Yeah.
And keeping some buffer for the view shed of any scenic byways. But we don't need the 5 miles just because these are low profile, they're not 400, 500, 600 feet there. So am I heading the right direction?
I like what you're saying, you know, that's the problem we're seeing is the, you know, and after making a pretty restrictive wind ordinance, you know, I think we tend to go in that direction again. The companies that are putting these up want to keep them low to the ground because it costs less.
Right.
But from from a use standard, having cattle grazing underneath it or haymaking in between it makes more sense, you know, anyway, I like where you're going with it so far.
Okay.
Data centers, where are we at with that?
We have it that we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be here, oh, that's right, we're gonna have one of those on your agenda next month, I forgot, that'll be the first thing. Yes,
I was aware.
yeah, yeah, so that's the first thing that'll be on, and, so we're using that as, special exception use, so conditional use. So the first step, and the way our ordinance is written, it's like two parts. It's a double step process. Most counties are one step. They take it to their board of adjustment and they set up provisions for that zoning district. Well, ours is set up, it looks like it comes to you guys first, and you guys decide what zoning districts you would allow this use in. So are you gonna make them rezone to industrial? You're gonna let it be as conditional use in A1 since it's right next to what's it called? Not transfer station, transformer.
Oh, substation,
Substation.
yeah.
So it's right next to a substation.
Are we
And
talking Spragueville?
yeah,
Yeah, I thought so.
yeah. And we haven't done notifications yet on that. So we haven't published anything. So I'm being a little discreet just so I don't, worry people yet. But yeah, it'll be that substation north of Springville is where they're looking. They have a surveyed off parcel of 2 acres.
They
And
do have a parcel.
well, and here's the reason why. I was having difficulty describing a 2-acre tract that was still part of a 38-acre parcel.
You
So
can't do that. Well,
we had them do the survey first. And because you guys wouldn't be able to, because when you're doing if you decide to rezone or do the conditional use, you're saying where that's for. And we've got it narrowed down to the 2-acre parcel now. They did a survey on that. So that will be in front of you guys next month. And then I had them hold off until after your meeting to do their application to the Board of Adjustment. They did hold on for, she's so mad. No, okay,
Not the refines.
okay. So, because, let's get it through you guys, then your recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Try to get it moved on, and I told her it would probably be the March meeting before we could get them on, but that would be getting your decision in front of the Board of Supervisors the next day, the day after your meeting. So I'd get on their agenda for that. No, there'll be a recommendation of something.
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Anything else?
We kind of discussed what the next meeting looked like. Now comes your other favorite part.
I have a question. So if we submit this, ordinance to the supervisors, when will we hear back on that? Will that have to be acted on?
As soon as it's done, it'll probably be presented at their next, oh, that's not gonna be a nice meeting to present that at the 28th meeting. I might be able to submit it to them. We'll try to get it in front of them by the 28th, and if not, it'll be the first meeting in February. And then too, they have their public hearings. They'll have to do a publication for a public hearing. And usually they're up for 3 readings. I don't know if they'll decide to go all 3 readings, but it'll be up to their discretion. So I wouldn't look for anything till March or April.
But if everything is agreeable, we don't have to do anything more?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Is that,
That's
The way-
typically how they work.
yeah, but it could come back to you. Okay. But that would only be if there was anything major. No.
All right, do we have anything else? Say no, Lori.
I don't, I was looking for you guys, or I was looking at Mike now.
She can finish.
Okay,
Typically.
Yeah. All right, do I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
Yeah.
And you guys, wow.
I mean, you're here a lot here.
It helps.
At the end, or.